everyone, this is Brenda, also known as JustaBitFrayed from Flickr and my blog. Today I'm going to show you how to make a quilt-as-you-go log cabin block. The block that we're going to make today is going to be made into a pillow cover for a 16-inch pillow form. So normally, if you were using the blocks for a quilt, you would use whatever your backing fabric would be, and you would take the right side and you would face that down. This is just a piece of muslin, one of the Robert Kaufman muslins. And we want our square to be 17 inches, so I cut this about 18 inches, a little bit extra, so that we can trim it at the end. And then you also want to cut a piece of batting about the same amount. I like to use warm and natural 100% cotton batting. So what we're going to do to help these not shift around is I'm just going to put a little bit of spray base on there, and then you just spray it, because you don't want to pin it. It's going to be a big pain in the butt when you have to do the quilt as you go. And then position the batting and smooth it out. Alright. Now typically when you quilt, you would put the top on and then quilt them all together. We're going to make the top in pieces. First thing you want to do is you want to find the center. And I'll do that just by folding it. And you see here is our center. When you start with a log cabin, you want to have something in the middle. This could be a fussy cut fabric with a pretty little picture in it, or you know, something that you want for a focal point. I'm using some Kona solids and some of the Alexander Henry Heath. So I just did a 2x2 square. You can also do a rectangle if you want to do a rectangle block, but we're doing a square. So I'm going to put that in the center, and I'm going to pin it so that it stays on there and doesn't shift around. And then you want to decide what you want for your next, and this is a great block to do with your scraps. And then you want to cut it the same length as the first side. So you want to put them right sides together like this, and then you'll sew a 1/4 inch seam right here through all of the entire sandwich, so through your batting and the muslin backing. Alright, let's go to the machine. Okay, so now we have our initial square with our first log, and we're going to do our 1/4 inch seam along the edge. And I'm using Aurifil thread in light gray. And you take it out of the machine. I have removed my pin and I've brought it over to the ironing board. So now what you want to do is you're going to fold your log up and press. If you want to do more quilting on this, you can start doing more quilting, but I'm just going to use what I've got for quilting. And then you see on the back that it's already quilted just that one piece. So now we turn it at a 90 degree angle, and we're going to cut another log the width of this fabric. Let's do that and sew it on. Okay, I added my next log, and it's a pretty big one. I am just doing this at various widths, and I put that right side next to the other one, the other two pieces, And then we go ahead and sew the 1/4" seam down the edge. And you don't have to back stitch on these. And then we press that again. So then you're going to press this open and then keep going around clockwise or counterclockwise, but you just keep the same direction. And then add your next log to that. So I'm going to do a few logs and come back in a minute. Finished with all of our logs, and as it turned out, a little bit off just because I didn't do it completely straight. So I'm actually, instead of cutting it at 17 inches for a 16-inch pillow form, I'm going to do a 14-inch pillow form and cut it at 15.5 inches. So it'll be not super tight, not super loose on a 14-inch pillow form. So what I like to do is line up at the edge. So we're just going to trim this down. And the nice thing about the Quilt-as-you-go, also if you wanted to do more quilting, now's the time to do that before you trim. So if you wanted to put more lines of quilting in this, you could go back and do that. But this is sufficient to keep your your quilting in place. And the nice thing about the Quilt-as-you-go method is that you don't have to wrangle an entire quilt into your machine at one time to quilt it. You're only doing smaller blocks at a time, which makes it a lot easier for you. And in another video, I will show you, if you make a bunch of the Quilt-as-you-go blocks, how to put them together, which is cool. All right. And there you have a Quilt-as-you-go block. And now we are done with our first block. If you wanted to do any more quilting on the block, do that right before you trim it up. So if you wanted to put more lines or something decorative on there, you could do that as well. I kind of like it just the way that it is. And the nice thing with the Quilt-as-you-go is if you're making a queen size quilt, you can do it in blocks and you don't have to wrangle the whole quilt in your machine at one time. So it really does make it a lot easier. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to finish the pillow with an invisible zipper. And later on, I will do another video on how to take your Quilt-as-you-go blocks and put them together so that you have a great big quilt. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for showing up.